For over 2,000 years, it was little more than a legend, a lost tomb buried beneath the modern sprawl of Alexandria, swallowed by centuries of urban growth. Then, in a moment that stunned the world, a massive sarcophagus was unearthed deep beneath the city's streets. Hidden below the noise and concrete of present-day life, the ancient chamber came to light. When scientists opened the colossal stone container, they encountered something far more disturbing than they expected. What they found didn't just raise questions about the tomb's origin, it hinted at something far darker. Could this be the conclusion of a centuries-old mystery, or the beginning of one even more unsettling? A peculiar detail buried deep inside the chamber has since sparked new speculation, challenging what we think we know about history, and what happens when the past refuses to remain buried. The extraordinary discovery occurred in July 2018, during a routine construction project in the Sidi Gaba district of Alexandria, Egypt. As workers dug the foundation for a new building, they struck an unusually solid surface. It turned out to be the sealed lid of a massive black granite sarcophagus. Measuring approximately 9 feet long, over 5 feet wide, and 6 feet high, the coffin weighed around 30 tons and had remained untouched for over 2 millennia. Its size, condition, and undisturbed state made it one of the most intriguing archaeological finds in Egypt's recent history. The discovery ignited a firestorm of speculation. Situated in Alexandria, the city founded by Alexander the Great, the find immediately prompted rumors that the lost tomb of the Macedonian conqueror had finally been uncovered. Headlines around the world asked the same thrilling question: had the final resting place of one of history's most iconic figures finally been found? While social media buzzed with wild theories, experts approached the claim with more caution, aware that extraordinary discoveries often come with layers of myth and misunderstanding. When Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities finally opened the sarcophagus, anticipation reached a fever pitch. Inside, they found not one royal figure, but 3 skeletons, 2 men and a woman, submerged in a murky, reddish-brown liquid. The chamber reeked of rot and decay, likely a result of water infiltration mixed with decomposing organic material over centuries. Contrary to expectations, there were no inscriptions, amulets, or markers suggesting noble or royal identity. This absence of clear context deepened the mystery. Who were these people, and why were they placed in such a monumental tomb? Theories multiplied. Could the sarcophagus have originally been built for someone of great importance, perhaps even Alexander himself, only to be reused for unknown individuals centuries later? If so, what happened to the original occupant? The strange liquid was sent off for scientific testing, but despite online chatter about cursed juice, no supernatural elements were confirmed. While the discovery did not solve the enigma of Alexander's missing tomb, it reignited global interest in Alexandria's ancient history and reminded the world that many secrets still lie beneath the modern city. Yet as one mystery appeared to emerge from the shadows, another returned with even more urgency. What had happened to the actual tomb of Alexander the Great? After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his body was initially laid to rest in Memphis, Egypt, but was later transferred to Alexandria, the shining city he had founded and imagined as his legacy. Historical records describe a magnificent mausoleum worthy of a ruler who was worshipped by some as a god. For centuries, it stood as one of the most venerated monuments in the ancient world. Emperors, dignitaries, and pilgrims alike visited it, seeking inspiration, political legitimacy, or simply to pay tribute to one of the greatest military minds in history. During the Roman era, the tomb continued to be revered. Julius Caesar reportedly wept upon seeing Alexander's preserved remains during his Egyptian campaign in 48 BCE. Augustus, the first Roman emperor, is said to have visited the tomb after defeating Antony and Cleopatra. According to legend, he had the coffin opened to view the body and accidentally damaged the nose of the embalmed corpse, a small but telling detail underscoring the tomb's physical accessibility at the time. Roman figures like Caligula and Septimius Severus were also believed to have made pilgrimages to the site. The repeated references leave little doubt that Alexander's tomb remained intact and visible for hundreds of years after his death. Then, without warning, all references to the tomb vanish after the 4th century AD. Historians have long puzzled over this eerie silence. Some believe that natural disasters such as earthquakes or floods may have damaged or buried the site. Others argue that as Christianity rose to dominance in the Roman Empire, pagan landmarks, including Alexander's tomb, may have been defaced, dismantled, or deliberately hidden during religious purges. As Alexandria transformed under religious and political pressure, the legacy of its pagan founder may have been intentionally erased. What makes the mystery even more complex is Alexandria's continuous urban evolution over the past 2 millennia. Layer upon layer of construction has buried countless ancient landmarks beneath homes, roads, and entire neighborhoods. The original tomb, if it still exists, may lie beneath structures no one dares to disturb. The mystery of Alexander's final resting place continues to haunt historians and archaeologists alike. And while the black granite sarcophagus unearthed in 2018 did not provide the answers many hoped for, it served as a powerful reminder that the past is not always as silent as we think. Sometimes, it knocks from beneath the ground, demanding to be heard. As Alexandria transformed from the ancient heart of an empire into a bustling modern metropolis, whatever remnants remained of Alexander the Great's tomb were most likely paved over, destroyed, or altered beyond recognition. Despite ongoing research and countless hypotheses put forth by archaeologists and scholars, the precise location of the tomb has never been conclusively identified. The mystery of its disappearance endures as one of archaeology's most perplexing and haunting enigmas, a legend swallowed by centuries of time, political ambition, and relentless urbanization. The death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE marked the sudden collapse of one of the most extraordinary military and political campaigns in history. Only 32 years old, Alexander died in Babylon after a short but severe illness. Scholars still debate the cause, some suggest malaria, others typhoid fever, and some even suspect poison. Regardless of the cause, one fact remains indisputable: Alexander died without naming a clear successor. His only potential heir was the unborn child of his wife, Roxana. The resulting power vacuum triggered immediate conflict among his top generals, the Diadochi, each of whom vied for control over the vast empire stretching from Greece to India. The struggle for power wasn't limited to territory. A symbolic war broke out over possession of Alexander's body. In the ancient world, the physical remains of a great leader held immense political and spiritual significance. For Alexander, whose divine status had been declared by the oracle at Siwa and acknowledged by many during his lifetime, his body was not simply human remains, it was a sacred relic. To possess it was to inherit his aura of legitimacy. Recognizing this, his generals transformed what should have been a solemn funeral procession into a calculated political maneuver. Alexander's wish was to be buried at the temple of Zeus Ammon in the remote Siwa oasis of Egypt, a site he had visited years earlier for divine consultation. That journey, and the oracle's greeting of him as the son of Zeus Ammon, had profoundly shaped his identity. But that wish was betrayed. Before the funeral convoy could reach Siwa, Ptolemy, one of Alexander's most trusted generals, intercepted the golden sarcophagus as it passed through Syria. In a bold and calculated act, he redirected the body to Memphis, Egypt's ancient capital. This was not a gesture of loyalty, it was a hijacking of legacy. By bringing Alexander's body into Egypt, Ptolemy aligned himself with the divine figure, asserting not only military strength but spiritual entitlement. Alexandria, and not Babylon or Macedonia, would become the center of posthumous myth-making. This appropriation marked the beginning of a transformation. Alexander's corpse was no longer a body to be honored but a relic to be wielded. Ptolemy wrapped himself in Alexander's legend and, from that myth, founded a dynasty that would endure nearly 3 centuries. The deviation from Alexander's burial wishes became the foundation for the political narrative of a new regime. A sacred journey became a strategic coup. The tomb that Alexander had hoped would be a divine monument in the desert was replaced by one that served as a tool of propaganda in the heart of Egypt. Among all the mysteries surrounding Alexander's death, none carries more symbolic weight than the burial that never happened. Ancient texts suggest that he wished to be laid to rest at the temple of Zeus Ammon in Siwa, a remote, mystical sanctuary nestled deep in Egypt's western desert. This location was not chosen lightly. Years earlier, his visit to Siwa's oracle had cemented the idea of his semi-divine identity. He wasn't content with being a king or even a conqueror, he wanted to be remembered as a figure who transcended mortality. The temple, revered by both Egyptians and Greeks, embodied this dual heritage and would have served as a spiritually and politically neutral site of eternal rest. The Siwa oasis represented more than a burial site, it was the convergence point of two civilizations and a place of divine resonance. Isolated among the sands, it would have provided Alexander with a resting place beyond the reach of politics. A tomb there would have stood as a lasting testament to his myth, casting him as the godlike ruler he envisioned himself to be. Yet the chaos following his death derailed those plans. Political ambition overwhelmed religious reverence. The Diadochi were more focused on controlling Alexander's physical legacy than fulfilling his final spiritual wishes. The funeral convoy was intercepted, and his body was diverted, first to Memphis and then to Alexandria. Ptolemy's decision to deny Alexander his sacred burial site rewrote the legend, turning divine desire into political utility. The oasis of Siwa was reduced to a historical footnote, a haunting echo of an unrealized dream. This dramatic redirection of Alexander's burial site has sparked centuries of speculation. What if the body had reached Siwa? Could it have remained hidden beneath the desert, lost to time, or intentionally erased by political successors seeking to control the narrative? Historians and archaeologists continue to scour ancient writings and explore potential locations, hoping to recover traces of this sacred plan. The idea that Alexander was denied his chosen resting place adds a tragic note of unfinished business to his story. As long as his true tomb remains undiscovered, the myth of the Siwa burial, its spiritual significance and political betrayal, lingers as one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. To be, and that which was never allowed to be. Beneath the busy, modern streets of Alexandria, a quiet but persistent quest has continued for decades, one focused not on buildings or monuments, but on a single, elusive mystery, the lost tomb of Alexander the Great. Leading this modern odyssey is Greek archaeologist Calliope Papacosta, head of the Hellenic Institute for the Research of Alexandrian Civilization. Unlike many expeditions before her that ended in disappointment or speculation, Papacosta brings a unique blend of historical precision and cutting-edge science to her work. She has concentrated her efforts on a section of the city believed to once hold part of the royal quarter of ancient Alexandria, now buried beneath dense urban sprawl and overlooked public areas. To probe what lies below, Papacosta's team has turned to modern technologies like electrical resistivity tomography, ERT, a non-invasive method that allows researchers to detect subsurface anomalies without disrupting surface infrastructure. ERT sends electrical currents through the ground to map hidden structures such as voids, walls, or tunnels, invaluable in a city layered by centuries of construction and collapse. Through patient surveying and precise excavations, Papacosta's team has unearthed architectural remnants suggesting the presence of once monumental structures. One of the most evocative finds emerged near Shalalat Gardens, a partially preserved marble statue of distinct Hellenistic style. The sculpture bore flowing drapery, a dignified posture, and a downward tilted head, stylistic elements frequently associated with depictions of Alexander the Great. On the day of its discovery, Papacosta confessed that her heart was full. She quietly prayed to see the angle of the statue's hand, secretly hoping it once held a spear, a classical symbol often seen in portrayals of Alexander. Yet even more intriguing than the statue was the spatial context in which it was found. The arrangement of corridors, nearby channels possibly used for water flow, and the close proximity to what may have been a sacred pool all hint at a ceremonial zone, one possibly linked to funerary or divine rituals. Water, often used in both Egyptian and Greek traditions as a medium for purification and rebirth, strengthens this interpretation. Although no definitive tomb has been found, the evidence suggests that beneath the feet of modern Alexandrians may lie a sanctuary, if not the final resting place of Alexander himself, then perhaps a cultic center created in his honor. The black granite sarcophagus, a mystery unearthed. Just as one archaeological site hinted at royal secrets, another would soon deliver a discovery far stranger, and far more disturbing. In July 2018, during a construction project in Alexandria's Sidi Gaba district, workers unearthed a colossal black granite sarcophagus. Unlike typical burial containers of its era, this sarcophagus was enormous, measuring over 9 feet long, nearly 6 feet high, and weighing more than 30 tons. It had been sealed with thick mortar and left untouched for more than 2,000 years. Its sheer scale and craftsmanship suggested it had been made for someone of immense importance, perhaps even multiple individuals. The sarcophagus's location in a city so closely linked to Alexander the Great fueled immediate speculation. Could this finally be the long-lost tomb? Excitement gave way to unease, however, when Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities opened the container and found not a single royal body, but 3 skeletons, 2 adult men and an older woman. One of the skulls showed signs of blunt force trauma, possibly from a sharp object, hinting at a violent death. This led to several competing theories. Were these soldiers? Executed prisoners? Victims of a long-forgotten tragedy? Even stranger was what was missing. The tomb contained no inscriptions, no amulets, no funerary objects, and no symbols of rank or identity. All that remained were decayed pottery fragments, a few scraps of cloth, and tiny pieces of gold leaf, nowhere near enough to indicate who the deceased were. The contrast between the monumental grandeur of the sarcophagus and the bare anonymity of its contents baffled experts. It was as if the burial had either been looted, hurriedly repurposed, or deliberately stripped of its context. Yet what captured the public's imagination most was the eerie reddish-brown liquid that filled the bottom of the sarcophagus. Initially believed to be embalming fluid, it was later determined to be a mixture of sewage water, groundwater seepage, and liquefied organic matter. The stench upon opening was said to be unbearable. Nonetheless, the grotesque fluid gave rise to widespread internet rumors. Dubbed cursed juice, some joked that opening the sarcophagus would unleash a deadly plague. Others speculated it might be a failed preservation technique or an accidental chemical reaction. Though further analysis was conducted, no definitive answers emerged. In the end, the mystery of the black granite sarcophagus, like much of ancient Alexandria, remained unresolved. No names, no histories, no closure. Yet its discovery reinvigorated the global fascination with what lies beneath the city's modern shell. If the tomb of Alexander the Great still waits in silence, it might be surrounded by ruins like these, half-forgotten, barely understood, and shrouded in the shadows of empire. What lies beneath? The unfinished story of the black granite tomb. Despite the fanfare surrounding its discovery, many continue to believe that the true story of the black granite sarcophagus found in Alexandria remains unfinished, its secrets still buried beneath layers of speculation, decay, and lost history. While no definitive answers have emerged, the mystery has only deepened interest in other potential sites tied to Alexander the Great, especially one far to the north, in the heart of ancient Macedonia. The Macedonian response: cast a tomb and the echoes of empire. In 2012, near the ancient city of Amphipolis in northern Greece, archaeologists unearthed a monumental burial site that would soon command global attention. Known as the Castor tomb, it quickly established itself as the largest tomb ever discovered in Greece, dating back to the late 4th century BCE, the same era as Alexander the Great's death. Encircled by a perimeter nearly 500 meters in length, the tomb's sheer scale and engineering were astonishing, suggesting it had been constructed for someone of exceptional status, possibly a figure within the royal Argead dynasty, to which Alexander belonged. As excavations progressed, a series of rare architectural and symbolic elements emerged. 2 stone sphinxes guarded the entrance, evoking divine protection. Deeper within, 2 caryatids, elegant female figures carved as columns, stood watch at another threshold, reinforcing the sacred and ceremonial tone of the tomb. Most striking of all was a mosaic depicting the myth of Persephone's abduction by Hades, a powerful symbol of death, rebirth, and the underworld. These artistic choices weren't random, they echoed the mythic and divine imagery Alexander often associated with himself during his life, suggesting that the tomb held immense symbolic significance. Inside the tomb, archaeologists discovered the skeletal remains of 5 individuals, an elderly woman, 2 adult men, a newborn infant, and a 5th individual whose body had been cremated. Accompanying the remains were fragments of gold, traces of weaponry, and parts of a wooden coffin. The diversity in burial method, both inhumation and cremation, raised complex questions. Was this a dynastic family tomb? Or had it been reused across generations for a succession of high-status individuals? More compelling still were the Macedonian symbols etched into the tomb's interior, rosettes, stars, and images of shields, strongly associated with Alexander's lineage. Although no scholarly consensus has been reached on the identity of those buried there, theories abound. Some believe the tomb could belong to someone from Alexander's closest circle, his mother Olympias, his dearest companion Hephaestion, or a trusted general. While no conclusive link to Alexander himself has been made, the timing, opulence, and symbolic richness of the Castor tomb keep it at the center of the ongoing search for connections to the Macedonian legacy. Unsealing the unknown, a whispered discovery in Alexandria. In an event that rippled quietly through the archaeological world, a tightly controlled excavation in Alexandria reportedly led to the uncovering of an alabaster sarcophagus unlike anything previously found in the city. Hidden deep beneath a part of Alexandria long suspected to contain remnants of the royal quarter, the sarcophagus was sealed with a thick, amber-colored resin and completely void of inscriptions. The secrecy surrounding the project, minimal media access, no public statements, and strict government oversight, immediately fueled rumors of a monumental discovery. According to leaked documents and anonymous sources, the sarcophagus contained the remarkably well-preserved body of a man believed to be in his early 30s, coincidentally, the same age at which Alexander the Great died. The body showed signs of a life shaped by battle, an old leg fracture, rib injuries, and a distinctive healed wound at the base of the neck. These details eerily matched historical records of injuries Alexander sustained during his campaigns, including the grievous wounds he suffered in India. Though no official DNA analysis has been released, the physical evidence alone sparked speculation that this could be the long-lost tomb of Alexander himself. What stunned experts most was the condition of the body. The preservation was far beyond anything previously seen from the 4th century BCE. Analysts described the embalming as a hybrid method, one that combined known Egyptian mummification techniques with mysterious chemical compounds not referenced in any existing texts. This unusual level of preservation suggested either a highly experimental process or one crafted specifically for a revered figure. Additionally, the resin sealing the sarcophagus bore compounds typically found only in royal burials, implying the body had been deliberately protected, perhaps hidden, from future desecration. Artifacts found with the body added to the intrigue. Among them were remnants of a gold diadem with unmistakably regal design and a medallion depicting Zeus Ammon, the deity Alexander famously claimed as his divine father after his fateful journey to the Siwa oasis. These items deepened the belief among some researchers that the tomb may have been custom-built or later modified to house a figure believed to be of divine origin. Whether this was Alexander himself or a carefully constructed surrogate remains an open question. No official confirmation has been issued by Egyptian authorities, but the implications of the find have reignited the centuries-old debate over the final resting place of history's most legendary conqueror. The alabaster tomb, sealed in silence for thousands of years, may hold the answer to one of humanity's greatest mysteries, or it may only be another piece in an unfinished puzzle. Either way, the sands of Alexandria are whispering again, and the world is listening. The cover-up, silence beneath the sand. After the extraordinary discovery of a preserved body in an alabaster sarcophagus during a tightly controlled excavation in Alexandria, a wave of speculation and unease began to spread. Whispers of a cover-up took root almost immediately. According to early internal reports, never officially released, DNA samples had allegedly been extracted and compared to known genetic markers from royal Macedonian tombs. Some insiders hinted that the results revealed striking similarities, possibly linking the remains to the Argead dynasty, the family of Alexander the Great himself. But just as global anticipation mounted for official confirmation, the stream of information suddenly stopped. The silence was abrupt and conspicuous. Within weeks, researchers went quiet. Interviews were cancelled. The site, once a focal point of excitement, was abruptly closed to outside observers. Requests from international academic institutions to collaborate on further studies were either ignored or flatly rejected. The lack of transparency triggered a surge of suspicion. Many began to wonder if the discovery carried consequences too politically or culturally sensitive to be made public. Some experts believe that confirming the tomb as Alexander's would unleash a firestorm of geopolitical debate, particularly between Greece and Egypt, both of whom lay cultural claim to his legacy. Others suggest that such a discovery could destabilize long-held historical narratives, impacting interpretations of ancient religion, empire, and even national identity. More dramatic theories emerged surrounding a sealed vault reportedly discovered adjacent to the main burial chamber. Leaked architectural scans hinted at its presence, but authorities have offered no explanation for why it remains unopened. Explanations range from concerns about structural safety to more shadowy suggestions of bureaucratic hesitation or deliberate obstruction. The possibility that this vault holds further artifacts, inscriptions, or remains has reignited global curiosity. If it does exist, and if it contains definitive proof of Alexander's final resting place, it could be the key to solving one of history's most enduring mysteries. Yet with no official disclosure and increasing restrictions, public trust has eroded. The vacuum of information has only fueled conspiracy theories, with many suspecting a calculated effort to bury the truth, perhaps forever. Egyptian officials have largely refrained from commenting, but their silence has spoken volumes. As the dig site remains sealed and questions go unanswered, the world is left wondering what lies beneath Alexandria, and who might already know. Legacy and consequence, if the tomb is real. The discovery of Alexander the Great's true tomb would not merely rewrite a chapter of history, it could rewrite the entire book. Alexander's death in 323 BCE marked the collapse of one of the greatest military campaigns the world has ever seen. His body, lost to time, has remained one of archaeology's greatest unresolved enigmas. If his final resting place were definitively found and authenticated, it would offer historians the unprecedented opportunity to re-examine everything we know about his life, death, and burial traditions. Such a revelation would challenge centuries of interpretation. It could confirm long-disputed elements of Hellenistic culture, provide clarity on ancient embalming practices, and even reshape national identities. The cultural and political ripple effects would be global. Alexander's myth looms large, not just in Greek and Macedonian identity, but also in Egyptian, Persian, and Western historical thought. He is not only a historical figure but a symbol of leadership, of conquest, of divine ambition. For modern nations, the tomb's discovery could reignite debates over cultural ownership. Who owns Alexander's legacy? Who gets to tell his story? These are not idle questions, they carry implications for heritage, tourism, diplomacy, and national pride. Some scholars warn that confirming the tomb's location might have theological consequences as well. Alexander was not just admired, he was worshipped. In life, he was declared the son of Zeus Ammon. In death, his image blurred the lines between mortal and divine. Should burial symbols or religious artifacts emerge from the tomb, they could provoke a reassessment of how ancient deification practices fed into, or even shaped, later religious systems. Others worry that solving the mystery could dissolve the legend, reducing a near-mythic figure to forensic details and dusty remains. Would revealing the tomb elevate Alexander further, or demystify him forever? Closing thoughts, fact, legend, and the threshold of discovery. The story of Alexander the Great has always existed at the crossroads of history and mythology. If we are now on the brink of discovering his tomb, or if it has already been found and hidden, then the consequences extend far beyond archaeology. This isn't just about one man. It's about empire, identity, and how we choose to remember the past. If you found this story as fascinating and as unsettling as we did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest historical mysteries. Have your own theory about Alexander's tomb? Drop it in the comments, we're reading every one. And don't go anywhere, click the next video to keep exploring the secrets the ancient world tried to keep buried.